didn't live here anymore.
Formality being served. I'm wondering where that came in. Rudimentary. It does, like, probably always body.
Good morning, Kansas City Rotary. I missed y'all. I really did. Who are you? I know Chip was trying to get me off my throne. I'm glad all the cameras are here to notice that I'm back and get video of it. Invocation. Oh, but, or Chip.
We didn't have any money for ransom. You all bow your heads with me, please, for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we pause for a moment right now in the midst of the hustle, bustle, the craziness, the rush, chaos, and life around us. We just take a minute. Lord, thank you for the men and women that are around these tables and the friendships that have developed over the years, working on the Rotary projects and people that embrace the idea of service above self. Would you give us eyes to see and hearts to feel the needs around us. Thank you for this food. Please give us energy and strength and resolve for the day in front of us. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Of all the things we think, say, and do.
It is the truth. It is fair to all concerned. It will build goodwill and better friendships. It will be beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you, Chip. Thanks. Mr. Wayne.
We have Patrick Tillman here as a guest today. We have Wendy Jones making sure Ralph's behaving today. We have Mike Bowers here as guest of David Graves. Wanda Mobley has joined us as part of the school team.
All righty. Dale, birthday.
Mike Slade will be celebrating a birthday on March 10th. And we have 2 member anniversaries to celebrate this week. Tom Nelson will have 13 years with Rotary on the 10th. And Mark Reynolds on the 13th will be celebrating 15 years.
I did miss you guys.
Yeah.
But, on announcements, any announcements? I'll do that every morning. Oh, there is one announcement.
Oh my God, look at the time.
Look at you. I just want to give him his Carolina shirt.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you.
Oh, and have him wear one of these That's funny. That one for you too, buddy. We can pause for a moment. Well, that looks good.
Oh my God, I feel this urge to be obnoxious.
Come on, buddy, we gotta at least get a picture.
Since we don't have Chip this morning, let's at least get a picture. I want to see a number 1. There we go. That is awesome. Anyway, I want to get one too. How do we get in?
All right, woo, Blue Devils!
Took 54 years to get one of these on.
Other announcements. I've got, Matthew has talked to Camp Carefree. It's not ready for an announcement, but we have talked to them and they do have a list for us, so we will be reconnecting with Camp Carefree this year. I announced that last week. Did you? Sorry. I'm on vacation. Chip, do you want to put a reminder in for the 18th? I'll do it. We're going to be taking off to Victory Junction on the 18th, I believe, from 3 to 6. Good to go? 3. Any other announcements?
Ralph, I'll send out a reminder.
Please.
I'll send out a reminder this week or early next week about Victory Junction on Sunday the 18th. No meeting next week.
Yeah, that's most important. No meeting next week.
President's meeting is really much. Past, future, and present.
Past, future, and present president's meeting today at 5:30 to discuss grants at Joy Miners downtown. It is. And I think, Walter, you might have some. You might have some.
You guys haven't noticed, there are 15 raffle tickets you're supposed to be selling to all your friends, neighbors, cohorts, etc. There are more tickets available, okay? Everybody understand that? If you can't get your plans on your tickets, you're not limited to 15. I know you guys will be excited about that. Here's kind of a preliminary poster that you can scan in, basically email to your friends, family members, anybody you think may be interested in a sponsorship or maybe interested in coming to the event. We left them out on the front desk. Did anybody not get one by chance? Okay. I'm just going to pass them around, and we're going to do this the way that we used to do it. We start at this table.
Never gonna let go.
Yeah, and just pass it back through, okay? So everybody take one, scan it in, and start selling some tickets, okay?
Fantastic. Thanks, Walter.
Got to get started.
Anybody else before we move on?
Will you send us a PDF, David?
Yes.
Thank you.
Send it out to the club.
All right. Did y'all do the Rotary review last week?
Yes.
I
did it twice.
bet it was. All right, we're back on. We're back on.
Best one we've ever had.
Thank you, Conrad. You'll be playing. We'll do the, let's do the opposite table. Billy's table. Billy died and since he's coming today, we'll have Mr. Conrad do it. So, Billy, listen to the question, guys. The question is, what are some of the phrases associated with the NCAA tournament? Most common phrases associated with the NCAA tournament. You want to play or pass? They're going to pass. I'm not going to repeat the question either, John.
Thank you very much.
Y'all are playing? We're playing. You're up. What are some of the phrases and terms that are associated with the NCAA tournament?
March Madness.
Ding, ding, ding. Number one, y'all know what to do when they miss one. All right, we'll go to count. What's your answer?
Bad call.
That's not bad? I'll call. All right, now we're going to hold on. Now we're going to go count because he wants to get his answer. Ding, ding, ding. Number two. Number three. Tom. There's 6 answers. Ding, ding, ding. You're on there. 2 answers. Are y'all listening to what they're
We can't hear them.
March Madness, Elite 8, Sweet 16, and Final Four. 2 more answers. Ding, ding, ding. Number 6, one more. One more.
What was it, Ralph?
We got one more answer.
No, what's the answer?
Oh, it was a national championship, or national championship.
Cinderella team.
One more. You got one more? You got one more egg? What? Plain. I want this one to be loud. This is the last one. All right, good deal. All right.
We'll go with bracket.
Tournament brackets, we got a winner. I made up these questions. I made up the answers. Congratulations. Buster, have it out.
All right, $50, folks, $50.
I got one. Number one, I had a great trip, I'll tell you that. I gave you 5, I know. Number 2, all y'all know we're big Spartan fans in our family, and they are moving on to the NCAA. Number 3, my daughter was just selected on the Guilford County All-Star basketball team. To be elected, you have to have 3 votes. This is from ADs, other coaches or opponents' coaches, and she received 9. So we're very proud of her. Yeah. Yes. Get one.
We introduced my brother who's a guest, and one thing he likes for me to say when I'm talking is I put the word younger brother in front of that. Patrick Tillman, thanks for getting the superintendent here. And howdy folks, good morning. Glad to be here.
Billy, well, I'll get Sally. I'll work my way back here, Billy. Go ahead, Sally.
Just wanted to shout out to Cooper Potter for helping me out of another hole. Be over there today making something beautiful that was not very beautiful before.
None from you, Cooper? Or do we do it post? Post when the check clears? We'll be looking for something next week. That's the truth. Yeah.
Rosa and Victoria update. Rosa's really enjoying, of course, still playing soccer and on the varsity team and really enjoying it. Although it was very cold to watch soccer last night outside. Even almost better, I hate to say better, but Victoria is actually going to play softball at the same time as playing soccer, but I get to watch another sport.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Billy Dodge.
My campaign to recruit free babysitting is finally working. We got my mom was just accepted for a transfer. She's moving out here, and so finally have someone to watch the kids. My sister's also going to be moving out here. And then once my dad was an H&R Block out in Texas, as soon as he can sell that and transition, he'll be up here as well. So.
I'm involved in an organization called the Greensboro Tennis Foundation, which tries to use tennis as a way to reach out to underserved communities, to get them involved in tennis and to help them learn, work on their character and discipline and other things. And there's going to be a fun run, a 5K fun run on March 31st, the Saturday before Easter. And I'm going to send out an email if anyone is interested in running. The proceeds after the expenses go to help the programs.
Saturday, we're out and made meals for the Meals for Hope. Met Rusty and some new Rotary friends. Our table had the greatest production of anybody there, of all the Rotarians. And just a great day to be alive. Driving in and the sun was hitting the tops of the trees this morning. And I was just thinking, it was a beautiful day and it's a great day to be Rotarian.
Well, Grandpappy Lewis always used to say that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. I'm just giving you a heads up on this shirt, Ralph.
Buster, is it 99% perspiration or 99% persistence?
Perspiration.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that. I'm so excited about this program this morning. You know, we have talked about the challenges in our workforces having adequate supply of qualified work people. Dr. Sharon and Contreras will be bringing our program today and talking about a special initiative that's being worked on, and this is really neat, but I'm not going to jump ahead to that. Let me take care of the introduction first. Dr. Contreras was raised in Uniondale, New York. She earned degrees from both Binghamton University and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She began her career as an English teacher and then served as principal and then area superintendent and then assistant superintendent in the Rockford, Illinois school system. She also went on to serve as the chief academic officer for both the Clayton County Public Schools in Georgia and the Providence Public Schools in Rhode Island. Her work in these schools led to improved graduation rates and access to more rigorous academic programs. And I think that's a foundation for some of the work, some of the direction that she wants to move those school systems and our school system. In 2011, she had a special distinction. She became the first woman of color in New York State's history to serve as superintendent of one of the largest school districts when she took over the helm of the Syracuse City School District. Dr. Contreras again made history in 2016, August of 2016, when she was sworn in as the first woman and first Latina superintendent of our Guilford County schools. From the moment she took on her new role, Dr. Contreras has been singularly focused on one goal: to improve the life and outcomes of our students. During the course of her nearly 30-year career, Dr. Contreras has won numerous awards and distinctions, recognitions around her work and her involvement in communities and her aim at improving education and educational outcomes for our students. I think it's safe to say she takes pride in her role and has had a great legacy in leaving each school district in a better condition than it was when she found it. I'd also like to introduce ever so briefly, and Jeff, I hadn't forgotten Pat. I was going to take care of him. You know, Pat has served our community, both our country and our community. He's a former U.S. Marine. He served as a, what's that? He served as a staff non-commissioned officer for 2 deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's a father of 3 students, all at Guilford County Public Schools, elementary, junior high, and high school. He's elected to the Board of Education in 2016 and is currently serving through that 4-year term right now. Pat serves on the legislative committee, working with our state legislators on behalf of Guilford County schools. He also serves on the Achievement Gap Committee. He's currently serving as the lead career technical education liaison, and that's a term you're going to hear again, career technical education. liaison for the Board of Education, and in that capacity works with the state legislators, our local Chamber of Commerce, local businesses, and the Guilford County Commissioners on expanding our technical education footprint by aligning job opportunities with upcoming graduates of the Guilford County schools. But our program today will be coming from Dr. Sharon Contreras. Please give a warm Rotary welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I ask you to please excuse the cameras here. We are actually trying to capture all of the hundreds and hundreds of partners we have in the community to do sort of a documentary about the community partnerships in the Guilford County schools. And I promise you, I will edit out Duke. It is really funny to be here in North Carolina where there are multiple schools, because as superintendent of Syracuse, every Friday the entire city went orange. And the schools, everyone, the students, teachers, everyone had to wear orange. And I will never forget, in first grade, my little boy came home and he said, Mommy, do you know who I hate? And I panicked. I was, oh my goodness, we don't say hate. We don't hate anybody. He said, Duke. Good to know there's high quality teaching going on. I certainly want to thank you, Ralph Jones, President, for having me here today, all of you, and certainly to Board Member Patrick Tillman in particular, who's such a great advocate for children, and I mean that sincerely. He's the quintessential board member. He's thoughtful, forward-thinking, he's very innovative, a great listener and problem solver, and he is not the boss from hell that so many of us have experienced, but instead he's a critical thought partner, and for that, I appreciate you so very much. I know from my work as an educator with Rotary clubs over the past 26 years that Rotary members believe that we have a shared responsibility to take action on the world's most critical issues and persistent issues. You work to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, save mothers and children, support education, grow local economies. Your work is incredibly like and aligned to the work of the school system. And our mission is to help our students graduate as responsible citizens and to give them the tools and the skills they need to succeed in higher education and the careers of their choice. I want you to know that the school system is thriving. Like all school systems, we have our problems, but there are so many accomplishments that I could share today. There really are. From our nationally recognized early and middle college high schools, that almost all of them are in the U.S. News and World Report on state lists, national lists, as being in the top 10, top 20 schools in the nation. 2 of them are too elite to even be ranked. To our world-renowned visual and performing arts programming, to our leaders and teachers, many who are recognized across the region, state, and nation in their respective subject areas or levels for excellence in research, teaching, and leadership, and in service. Our gifted and talented students are also recognized throughout the country and even around the world. They have even sang at the Vatican, performed at the Vatican. They're recognized for strong academic performance, research, arts, athletics, and service to others. But today I thought that I would focus on an area in which the district is placing a great amount of focus and many of our resources, and that is career and technical education, also known as CTE. And it's what you probably, some of you know as vocational education, but we do not call it vocational education anymore. It has such a negative connotation. At one time, the only students who went into vocational education were those who were lower level students or who could not go on to a high level career or who were not college prepared. Every job that leads to a secure future requires critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and some post-secondary education or training. In fact, 7 of 10 jobs in growth fields require some post-secondary training. CTE fulfills employer needs that are high skill, high wage, and in high demand. These are jobs in manufacturing, health sciences, human services, information technology, transportation, distribution and logistics, architecture and construction, clean and sustainable energy, futuristic agriculture. CTE careers also include, as you know, the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM jobs are expected to outpace non-STEM jobs over the next decade. In 2016, 26.9% of GCS high school students completed a CTE concentration. Among the CTE concentrators surveyed in the spring, 92.1% of those students went on to further their education, either in advanced training, college, or they went into the military. They have the highest success rate in the district, in the state, and in the nation. CTE completers are the highest performers in nearly every high school in the nation. We have students who are graduating high schools ready to work. In 2016-17, students enrolled in 1,585 work-based learning courses, apprenticeships, internships, and cooperative education. Through programs like the Guilford Apprenticeship Program, better known as GAP, our students get the opportunity to serve apprenticeships, providing them a real work experience before they even graduate from high school. GAP has provided many of our students the opportunity to go on to college when they worry they might not be able to afford it. GAP pays the tuition while the students are able to work in the industry of their choice. They even earn industry credentials. During the 2015-16 school year, our district CTE students earned 5,316 industry standard certifications and credentials. Industry recognized credentials ensure students graduate globally competitive for work and post-secondary educated with validated 21st century skills. During the 2016 school year, 69.7% of GCS middle school students enrolled in at least one CTE course. This is really an accomplishment for us as we are trying to expose students to careers at a much younger age. 58.4% of high school students enrolled in at least one CTE course at the high school level. Courses ranged from exploring aviation technology to multimedia, animation, and game discoveries. And you will see across the nations there are even gaming high schools popping up. I believe so strongly in the value of CTE that it's an integral part of the district's strategic plan, which I unveiled at the last board meeting. Creating pathways to prosperity is a major priority for us, and we are going to need support, participation, and investment from this community. Despite rising graduation rates, ACT scores and other data indicate that a preparation gap exists between what GCS students know and can do and what is required for post-secondary success. This means we're just going to have to do better. If we are to live up to our core mission of preparing students for college and careers, we have to make sure we are preparing students adequately. And there are significant discrepancies between graduation rates and the percentage of students meeting the North Carolina College Career Readiness Standards. We have a 90% graduation rate. 90% of our students graduate on time, but only 63% of those students actually enroll in 2 or 4-year colleges. About half of the students who enroll in those 2 and 4-year colleges have to enroll in remedial courses. The number one indicator of whether or not you will complete your program, your college program, is whether or not you are in a remedial course. If you're in a remedial course, it is very likely that you will not complete your college program. Research indicates that 64% of all jobs by 2020 will require at least some post-secondary education or training. Currently, college graduates out-earn high school graduates by 56% or more and are less likely to be unemployed. Middle skill jobs, those requiring some post-secondary education and training, but not a bachelor's degree, account for 55% of North Carolina's labor market, according to CTE CareerTech.org. Yet just 44% of our state's workers are qualified to fill these middle skill jobs, leading to a skill gap that CTE education in our high schools in Guilford County can help to address. The world's most competitive economies attribute most of their success to rigorous career pathway programs for students. Our region currently averages about 1,000 jobs annually that go unfilled due to the lack of qualified workers. Nationally, 3 million workers will be needed for the nation's infrastructure in the next decade, including designing, building, and operating transportation, housing, utilities, and telecommunications. More than 80% of manufacturers report that talent shortages will impact their ability to meet customer demand, according to the Association of Career and Technical Education. So we must expand and strengthen our CTE and choice programming in alignment with student interest and our region's economic development needs. And we must create more public-private partnerships between businesses, universities, school leaders to increase awareness and identify innovative practices across the sectors. Some work areas have already begun with efforts like the GCS CTE Blue Ribbon Task Force. The task force is chaired by Patrick Chapin and Brent Christensen, the presidents of the Chambers of Commerce in Greensboro and High Point. And it's made up of about 50 area industry leaders, elected officials, GCS employees, and community organizations. Our goal is to create a 5-year strategic plan for CTE programming in the Guilford County schools that is aligned to the industry needs, ensuring economic development of our region. The task force will establish goals to align the district's portfolio of CTE programs to include the fastest growing and most stable labor needs of the county. We also aim to align CTE programs so that there is a coherent flow of multiple career pathways from middle school through high school and to post-secondary educational opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, we will need the support, participation, and investment from the community. Research has shown that investing in CTE yields big returns for state economies. According to the ACTE, in Wisconsin, taxpayers receive $12.20 in benefits for every dollar invested in their technical college system. In Washington State, for every dollar invested in secondary CTE programs at the high school level, taxpayers receive a $9 return on their investment. And in Tennessee, CTE returns $2 for every $1 invested. At the secondary level, CTE program completers account for more than $13 million in annual tax revenue. The Department of Instruction here in North Carolina established a strategic plan to outline the need for reinvention and the outcomes necessary to make North Carolina's CTE system a resource and an asset for the state. Did you know that North Carolina is #2 in information technology employment growth, and we have 2 metro areas nearby, Raleigh and Charlotte, that are ranked top nationally in tech-oriented job growth, depending on the studies and the years that you look at them. In fact, in 2015, Forbes noted that Raleigh had the highest percentage increase in new STEM jobs in the past decade at 39%, second only to San Francisco, and actually beating out Silicon Valley, Austin, Nashville, and other better-known tech hotspots. Charlotte was 6th in 2015, but moved to 1st in tech growth in 2017. My fear is if we do not properly invest in our CTE programming in the state and specifically in Guilford County schools, that we will have to outsource those jobs and bring in young people from outside of the state. In North Carolina, the top middle skill occupations with the highest projected job openings are in the health science career cluster. We have job growth in the state, and we as a district and as a community are not adequately preparing our students. If we want young adults to stay or come back to this region and contribute after they graduate, we have to bring these jobs here to Guilford County. We need a new early college high school and a state-of-the-art career center that focuses on advanced manufacturing and partners with businesses and GTCC to keep the curriculum, equipment, and technology current. CTE is crucial for our community and our economy. Its importance is recognized across the country. Last year saw a significant expansion of state CTE policy, and 49 states and the District of Columbia enacted 241 CTE-related laws, executive orders, boards of education actions, and budget provisions, far exceeding the number of policy actions in 2016, as states are recognizing the need to do something about career technical education. In total, 44 states passed policies in 2017 related to CTE funding alone. The report shows that North Carolina's budget for the fiscal year 2018-19 includes a number of provisions related to CTE, including establishing a $400,000 preparation future workforce in coding and mobile app development grant, and including $700,000 or $700,000 to $1 million to expand CTE programs by grades 6 and 7 for the upcoming year. If you look in your folder, you'll see our CTE legislative agenda. Unfortunately, it costs about $700,000 to establish one career pathway in one school. So $700,000 for the state is woefully inadequate. I recommend legislation to incentivize businesses and industry partners through tax breaks to send employees to co-teach, particularly employees in the STEM fields, as they did in Seattle with Microsoft when they were facing computer science shortages. Microsoft actually sent their employees into the classrooms to teach a year at a time with a business teacher so that those students and teachers would be better prepared. And I recommend that we submit similar legislation here for science, technology, computer science, engineering, and math positions. If you think about a classroom teacher, for the most part, if they get a degree, say in biotechnology, they likely will never practice in the field. They will go straight from college at 21 and teach without any practical experience, making it very difficult for them to adequately prepare students with the kinds of skills that you need when they enter the workforce. I also recommend the establishment of P-Tech high schools where school districts, community colleges, and local industry enter into formal agreements. In Guilford County, we are considering P-Tech high schools in the area of advanced manufacturing and health careers. We're also in discussion with Union Square about co-locating a high school in their planned design, innovation, and cybersecurity facility that will be built. What a P-TECH high school is a 5-6-year high school college where a student gets both their high school diploma and their associate degree at the same time. And there is a guarantee from the industry partner that if they get the associate's degree, they will have a first-in-line position. In this case, in health careers, in advanced manufacturing, in cyber security. And we would like funding from the state to establish the state's first P-TECH high schools. We would also love a high school at the airport with an aviation program modeled after the Houston area high school at Hobby Airport. Houston just built a new 237,000 square foot aviation high school that includes a 2-story, 7,100 square foot hangar where students work on actual aircrafts and engines, including Cessnas and Skyhawks. The school also has welding and automotive labs, a high-tech paint room, and state-of-the-art science labs where students study elements of flight, along with 2 full-size flight simulators and an observation deck to watch planes take off and land at the nearby William Hobby Airport. We can do better than they can. I am optimistic that our state and the Guilford County School District can be leaders in CTE education and that more of our students will graduate ready for the workforce. I am optimistic that we can dramatically and positively impact and contribute to the economic development of our region, state, and nation. I have seen what this community can do. Let's continue our collaborative work with a renewed sense of urgency in the best interest of our students and our beloved county. Thank you so much. And I'd be glad to take any questions that you have.
Exactly, or
This is a-
tactics to reduce the gap from the graduation rate to college readiness
Yes,
in school? I mean, what are the tactics to close
that,
the gap?
that's through the career technical education. So because we know students who go through career technical education programs are more successful and the gap is much smaller, we want to expand that programming for students. Unfortunately, our counselors don't understand that career technical education is essentially for everyone. So they sort of push low-performing students into career technical education, and it can help low-performing students, but it can also help your Harvard-bound students, your Duke-bound students, your Syracuse-bound students. So I think that as we do more and more training for counselors to expand the programming or the number of students participating in current programming, and as we reinvent the programs we have and develop new programs in our school system in partnership with our industry partners, I think that we will close that gap. I think our schools, unfortunately, look very much like they did when we went to school. Even they look like when our parents went to school, and our students are very disinterested. So to close that gap, we have to make school more meaningful for them.
Is it the lack of exposure to careers, or is it where are they failing? Is it
So I think it's exposure to careers is one, but the schools, there's not a strong investment in North Carolina to CTE programming and to facility redesign. You have to redesign the schools in the way we're seeing in other states, in the way I just mentioned in Houston, where they're collating schools. Cleveland, as part of their reinvention of the city, and I don't know how many of you have been there, but when I recently visited, I couldn't believe it was Cleveland. They built high schools into each of their new buildings or businesses. So they have a new, I think, a NASA museum. So they built a high school into the science museum. That's a new model to make sure that we are preparing students for work instead of building these standalone high schools where students continue to have 7 periods a day and are lectured to and given worksheets, but never do anything of any interest to them.
Is there a relationship with the gap to the poverty level in Guilford County? Poverty level?
There's always a relationship to,
So
but we are also losing students who are not poor. We're losing white students who are disinterested. When you think of the amount of technology students are exposed to, and then they come to school where there are no computers, and they have to sit there and do worksheets, it's deeply disconcerting. They're not engaged, and they don't want to be there. I mean, it takes a lot of resilience to sit through that. Yes, sir.
Have you picked out the schools in the county that you're gonna run this program through already, or is that?
No, that's the job of the CTE task force, but we intend to have programs in every single high school. What my recommendation is to go to high schools of choice based on your interest, instead of having a simple neighborhood sort of model. So you can have neighborhood preferences. So I live near Grimsley, so I can go there. But I believe every high school should really specialize in a career area, in specific career clusters. Maybe not 1, but 2 to 3. And that we should design our high schools accordingly. Yes?
I have been involved in GAP, the apprentice program, and learned that one of the biggest hurdles to make it successful is the parents and also the school counselors, because practical, let's say manufacturing jobs, practical technical jobs are bad things. Every parent wants their kid to be a rocket scientist and go to college, the counselors do the same thing. What is your strategy to cope with that, to improve the image of, let's say, practical technical education?
So we've actually been doing a great deal of retraining for the counselors. And actually the students will need some post-secondary training. 7 of the 10 growth fields still require some post-secondary training. It's just that they don't have to go right away. There's a pathway. They can stop, they can go back. And in the GAP program, I think pretty much without exception, all of those industry partners help them go back at some point if they choose to go on to school. So we're trying to re-educate the parents and the students that it's okay and that you can make a good living without getting a 4-year degree. And that if you do choose to get a 4-year degree, you can get it at your own pace, at your own time. You don't have to go at 18 or 19 years old, as is the current model. And that's okay too. And we've been sharing that with counselors, but you're right, that has been a huge barrier in retraining the counselors. But we have held 3 3-day retreats with the counselors since I've been here, just to familiarize them with career technical education and to retrain them on the idea that we prepare students for college and careers, and it's up to the students to choose. I saw her hand in the back.
I was just going to say this is very exciting really to hear about, because I have a sophomore in high school, and when you listen to these groups that get together now and they are talking about college, they think about college and how far do I have to need to go away from here to really get established their career. If they're high educated career seeking, there doesn't seem to be a lot around our local county and area to draw them in. I mean, they're there, and they're not being educated, I don't think, through their counselors, because those counselors, I think, have so much to multitask.
So I want to make sure I heard you that the students feel that they have to go away for college.
No, their careers. Their careers. So,
Oh, that they have to go away, that the jobs are not here.
right.
Actually, the jobs are here.
Yes.
Yeah, but we haven't had I sit on the Chamber of Commerce, so I can tell you there is a dearth of skilled workers. So we just had a CTE fair where we had industry partners come in and talk to students about the careers here in the county. And I think we have to do a lot more of that so that students know they do not have to leave, particularly when you look at the high-tech jobs here. That was kind of shocking to me to learn we had more growth in tech than even Silicon Valley, Nashville, and Austin, some of the places you would expect to have more jobs. They do not have to leave, but I don't think we are messaging that as well as we should. Yes, sir.
Can you speak to the long-term plan for both school systems within cities and counties and the state as it relates to the community college system and designing programs that specifically target those industries that are in that area? Is there a conversation that happens, for instance, for GTCC, Rockingham, for aviation, for instance?
I don't know if there's a specific conversation for aviation, but the state has a task force or a standing committee with the community college system to discuss how to better align with the K-12 system. And I know we have very strong partnerships. So I meet with all of the university presidents, particularly Dr. Parker, every month. And also the Chancellor of North Carolina A&T. We're talking right now about how to move our STEM high school into the Nano-Science Center to make sure they have state-of-the-art science labs. That school is so highly ranked, it's considered too elite to rank, even by U.S. News and World Report, but they're not in the best facility, even at A&T, but the UNCG and North Carolina A&T have a joint facility, Nanoscience Center, that was built as part of the first project of Union Square. So we're talking now about how to move them over there. But we want to do more projects like that. So we have a good relationship. But to your point, the state has to have a more formal way in which that conversation takes place and it happens. It can't just be based on the relationships that individuals have established here. It has to be memorialized somewhere.
Alignment with those opportunities just seems almost like a no-brainer that you're preparing those students within, you're talking about career, those industries that are already in their communities rather than having to think those kids have to relocate and go somewhere else. And to find those same opportunities that they're seeing and interested in high school, follow a career path into a community college system that's close by.
Absolutely. Now they do fund some of do what's called I think the College and Career Promise, some of the coursework at GTCC and the other public schools, but I'm not sure it's always aligned to the growth fields. The other area you'll see in the legislative agenda is that they're not funding the transportation equipment or materials. So the same students who struggle in schools as impoverished students, poor students, black and brown students, don't have the opportunity, so they want to participate in welding, but it's expensive to have the welding equipment. We can pay the tuition, but we can't get them the bus pass. We can't get them the welding equipment, and we know how many open welding jobs there are. So the state can do better in that piece. The state I come from, you pay the tuition, you can pay their bus pass, you can pay their books, the college book. I mean, a college textbook could be $200. So we have to be able to fund all of those items to make sure that we want to eradicate the poverty in this community. If this region is to thrive, we can't have entire groups of people that are struggling and unemployed.